Have you ever wondered what really happens after a hacker gets into a system? Not just the initial break-in, but what they could actually do once they're inside. Today, we're going to explore one of the most interesting and critical parts of ethical hacking. What happens after access is gained, how privileges can be increased, how attackers can move around a network, and how they might stay hidden. Welcome to Bluehat Cybersec Academy. We'll break this down step by step, showing you techniques used by hackers and by ethical testers to help organizations stay safe. And yes, we'll also cover the rules and guidelines that make sure all of this is done responsibly. So, let's start by talking about what happens after you've gained initial access. This phase isn't just about poking around, it's about understanding the full picture. What could an attacker see? What could they touch? And how far could they go? From the perspective of someone testing a system, this is critical because it reveals hidden risks that simple scans might miss. The key goals here are to increase your level of access, to see what an administrator can do, to explore other systems on the network to see what else might be at risk, and to understand how someone could maintain access if they weren't discovered right away. Now let's talk about increasing access privileges. Think of it as moving from a basic user account to an administrator account. There are two ways this can happen. One is accessing resources at the same level but belonging to someone else, like opening another employee's files without changing your account privileges. The other is moving up to full control over the system, which gives you the ability to make bigger changes and see more sensitive data. How is this done in practice? Sometimes it's about exploiting small mistakes in system setup, like weak permissions on files or outdated software. Tools exist that can help testers find these opportunities safely. Another approach is gathering stored credentials, finding saved passwords or login information in memory or configuration files, which lets you move around without guessing passwords. Misconfigured services are another route, where some system services run with more access than they need, and hackers can take advantage of this. And finally, adjusting scheduled tasks or startup scripts can give increased access. On Linux, a simple command can list what you're allowed to run without a password, and on Windows, startup scripts can be a vector. A practical way to think about this is to first check the users and groups on the system, look at permissions, and which files are writable, and then see where those weaknesses can let you elevate your access. That's the safe, ethical way a tester might explore potential risks. Once privileges are increased, the next step is often exploring other systems on the network, which is called moving laterally. Think of it as moving from one room to another in a building to see what else is inside. You might use stored credentials to access other computers without cracking new passwords, or run commands remotely using tools designed for system management. Mapping out the network helps find what other systems are connected, and sometimes routing traffic through the system you've already accessed lets you reach machines that would otherwise be off-limits. To give you a real-world picture, imagine an attacker gains access to a standard employee workstation. By increasing privileges and using saved credentials, they could move over to a finance server and access payroll data. That's why this part of testing is so important. It shows how far someone could really go if unchecked. Next, let's talk about staying on the network without being noticed, which we call maintaining access. Ethical testers simulate this to show the potential risk. This can include setting up scripts or scheduled tasks that run automatically, continuously gathering credentials for future use, or adjusting startup settings to maintain access. Of course, the key here is always cleanup. Ethical testers don't leave backdoors in real systems. Everything should be documented and removed after testing. This phase requires careful consideration. It's important to stick to the systems you've been authorized to test. Avoid making destructive changes by using mirrored or test environments whenever possible. Handle sensitive data responsibly by documenting findings instead of taking data out of the system, and focus on reporting. The goal is to show risks and suggest fixes, not to exploit systems for gain. A practical checklist for testers working through this phase includes first identifying users, groups, software versions, and permissions to get a clear picture of the system. Next, look for ways to increase access safely, noting misconfigurations or weaknesses. Map the network and explore potential paths to other systems in a controlled environment. Demonstrate persistence in theory or in a lab environment, then remove any artifacts. Finally, report everything with recommendations, including steps to patch weaknesses, implement segmentation, and enforce least privilege. Post-exploitation is where ethical testing really shows its value. By understanding increased access, lateral movement, and persistence, testers reveal the true risks in a network. When done responsibly, This helps organizations build stronger defenses, implement proper access controls, and train IT teams to anticipate real-world attacks. The key points to keep in mind are that increasing access is the stepping stone to seeing what an administrator can do. Moving laterally shows potential paths. An intruder could take responsible post-access testing, requires sticking to scope and avoiding destructive actions, and the ultimate goal is reporting actionable findings that can improve security. Now, let's make this interactive. Here's a quick challenge. Can you identify one misconfiguration that could allow elevated access on a system? What's the safest way to test movement across a network in a company? Bonus. Comment below with your favorite tool or method for exploring access and why you like it. We'd also love your suggestions. What topics should we cover next here at Bluehat Cybersec Academy? Thanks for watching Bluehat Cybersec Academy. If this video added value to your day, give it a like, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe for more practical networking and cybersecurity content. Drop a comment. We'd love to hear how you're applying these concepts in your own environment. See you next time. Stay curious, stay secure, and keep building networks that actually work.